Welcome to Out with Dan, the podcast that spotlights and examines the voices of LGBTQ+ authors, characters, and our allies. Together, we lift our voices and we tell our stories. I'm Dan White. Join me as I chat with this week's author. Hello and welcome back to Out with Dan. Today I'm excited to talk to Joshua Moehling. Joshua is a USA Today bestseller, and he's also been shortlisted for the Lambda Literary Awards twice. Welcome back, Josh.
Thanks for having me again, Dan. I love being on this podcast.
Thank you. I love having you as a guest, and I, of course, love Ben. I mean, he is one of my favorite characters of all time.
Thank you.
And I think I asked you at the end of the last podcast, why do you torture him so much? And you've tortured the poor man yet again. I tell you, you just won't let up on him. So give the audience an overview of what Ben's torture is this time.
So this is the fourth book in the series. And I thought it was going to be kind of a clean slate because we wrapped up so many questions at the end of the third book that had been unresolved basically since the first book. And so I thought, okay, we can kind of start fresh with Ben. And then it didn't exactly go that way. He's got some people from his past that show up that he doesn't know about, that he's never met before. But the book starts, it's summer in Sandy Lake in northern Minnesota, and there's been a terrible storm that's hit the town, and it's a tornado or a derecho, and it's snapped off all of the trees. It's taken the power out, the cell service. It's washed out the roads, and Ben's been working around the clock for a little over a month, just kind of on the emergency response side of things. And all that happens kind of outside of the book. And so when the book opens, he's got his first day off in about 6 weeks, and he goes to see Thielen and meet her new baby, who she was pregnant with at the end of the third book. And then he gets called to the scene of a murder, and we're off and running again with another murder in Sandy Lake.
Yeah, I tell you, I think a friend of mine used to say, why in the hell would anybody invite Jessica Fletcher for dinner? You know somebody's going to die. I mean, here is Sandy Lake, which should be a quiet place for people to grow and prosper in, out in the country, and yet something always goes wrong.
Yeah, it's supposed to be like a kind of a vacation / resort area. And then I've killed a whole lot of people in this small town.
Yes, and the body count stacked up a little bit this time. And of course, I love talking to Josh, and he has been a guest before. So I forgot to hold up his book. It's called Beneath a Broken Sky. And I noticed that its initials are Babs. Are you a Barbra Streisand fan?
I am. I made this joke online that my mom had the Star is Born record when I was a kid, and it's got half naked Chris Christopherson on the front, and even more pictures of him inside. It's like a double album, and you open it up, and there's all these pictures from the movie. And I said, I think this record is what made me gay. It's Barbra Streisand and naked Chris Christopherson on the front.
Well, and I think a lot of people would probably identify the exact same way, because it was a very popular album, and it was a very sexy and beautiful movie. So
yeah.
All right, enough about Barbara, because this is about you and my buddy Ben. So we learned a little bit more about Ben's past, and as we unpeeled the onion layers, and we learned about his ex-boyfriend, which we know by name from a previous book. You want to tell the audience a little bit about how that develops in this book, or
about Marcus? And
yes,
yeah. So Packard was dating another cop in Minneapolis, and he was a Minneapolis police officer dating another police officer, and that man was killed in the line of duty. This all predates the first book, but it was kind of the inciting incident that got Packard to decide he needed a fresh start, and got him to move back to the Sandy Lake, this small town that he knew from his childhood, where he used to spend his summers and holidays with his grandparents and where his brother disappeared from 30 plus years ago. So he and Marcus had been in a relationship for like a year, maybe a year and a half. I can't remember exactly. And then Marcus dies suddenly. And so we've learned a little bit about Marcus as the books went along. But Marcus told Packard that he didn't have any family, that his family was all dead. And in Beneath the Broken Sky, Marcus's sister shows up on Ben Packard's doorstep, and he feels like he has just seen a ghost because she looks so much like Marcus. And she has a lot of questions about her brother, and she has a lot of questions about who Ben Packard is and what their relationship was. And as this book goes along, they kind of have to work out their issues with each other.
Which I think you did such a great job of. And there's also another, what I would call sort of not a secondary story, but another story about how interactions between straight people and gay people and the police and the non-police. So there's several stories running concurrently throughout this book about how, some people perceive Ben, whether positively or negatively. And that is something that, of course, I think most all people who are in a marginalized community have to go through in day-to-day life. And it is something that we had, is on the forefront of our mind, I think, at all times. And I think it is on Ben's mind as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you never really stop coming out, do you? Every single time you meet somebody new, it's a decision, and it's, it just never stops. Right. And, you make that decision based on what this person needs to know and what the setting is and what your future interactions are going to be. But yeah, she is really surprised to find out that her brother was gay and in relationship with another man, and not happy to hear this information from Packard at all.
Well, and I think her character is so believable. And of course, when you have misgivings about meeting someone you don't even know, and then you've formed an opinion about them before you meet them, and of course you meet them and you get this bombshell, it is the symphony, that something is, something she believed her whole life was not true.
Yeah.
And it is, but I thought you dealt with it so wonderfully, Josh, as an author. I thought it was very realistic and it was very heartfelt on both her part and Ben's. Of course, on Ben's, because he had to board his dog. If a man gives up his dog, it's important.
Yeah, I mean, it's a chance for him to kind of work through some unresolved feelings that he's got that he hasn't really dealt with since Marcus died, and how he behaved in that relationship before Marcus died. And it's a chance to get to know Marcus better through the eyes of someone who knew him in a way that Packard didn't know him. And then also to share what he knew about Marcus with his sister. And they have a little bit rough go of it in the beginning, but I like how it all kind of works out.
I do too. And of course, in this, again, we have the returning sheriff, of course, who's not Ben Packard's friend.
Right.
And of course, we get to see Shepard more and more. And, I think Shepard gives your readers a chance to really dislike a character. I mean, somebody might like Shepard. I don't. So, and I think the majority of the reason I don't like Shepard is because more than the fact that he's not Ben's friend and he's not a gay ally, he's also a lazy person at work. And that, of course, is frustrating. I mean, all of us have had that one coworker that you really want to throttle them around the neck. And it's like, jeepers creepers, life is already tough enough, and I have to carry this slob along with me as well.
Yeah, he's supremely unqualified to be a leader, to have, to have that position in that department. But that's who the people elected, and Ben has to live with it. And I was just at the gym today, and this woman in my class said, "I just finished your second book," and she's like, "I thought Ben was going to be the sheriff," and I said, "That's what I wanted you to think."
That's what I thought too, because I still, keep thinking something's going to reverse itself there. But then, of course, you got to have that drama, that tension. And so it just adds a constant layer to it.
Yeah.
Poor old Ben, you got to catch the man a break sometime.
I feel bad about all the crap that I put him through. I actually do. But it's kind of my job, isn't it?
Well, I guess so. Otherwise you'd be writing romance. So,
somebody asked me, she's like, she said, do you think you and Ben would be friends in real life? And at an event, somebody asked me that. And I was thinking, and I was like, well, I really like Ben. I think we would get along great. But as the person responsible for all his trauma and drama, he probably wouldn't like me very much.
Well, probably not. And then I think, you're married to a man. And then I think, but poor Ben doesn't get that same luxury that you get, Josh.
We're working on it. I mean, I can't marry him off in the first book. He's got.
Well, that is true, and he gets not one but two nice love interests in this.
Yeah,
and I love the ending because it's certainly a classic cliffhanger ending, which you're so fond of doing on all of your books.
I know. I always say it's not so much a cliffhanger as it is a situation.
Well, there you go. I like that idea.
All the plot is resolved.
Right.
There's stuff that from his life, that goes from book to book
yes.
And that's not always resolved at the end of every book.
No. And of course, I'm hoping his mom will make a return at some point because goofy as she was, I liked her a lot, even though she was a bit of a problem in one of the books.
I think the local review of this book in the Star Tribune was saying how good it was, but his one fault with it was that the mom didn't come back in this book.
Oh, all right. So I have my cohorts out there wishing the same thing. So, but then I think she would have probably. This was not a book for her to make an appearance in my estimation. No. As a reader, I get to have a little say. Now she can come back somewhere else as needed, but this was definitely not her book because Ben had to sort of go on his own in this book for sure.
Yeah. I always point people to my website. I wrote a short story with Ben. It's a holiday Christmas story, and you can get it on my website. And people said they wanted more Gary from the first book, and they wanted more of his mom from the third book. So I gave the people what they want, and I wrote like a Ben Packard holiday Christmas story. And there's a crime that he's solving, and then he comes home and his mom is visiting, and she's decided to invite everybody over for a dinner party, which is the last thing that he wants to do. And he really gets put through the ringer at the dinner party, and it's short and it's funny.
Oh, cool.
It's got a lot of his mom in it. So if you want more of his mom, check out my website and look for that Christmas story.
So speaking of Gary, is he going to make another appearance in a future book, do you think? I mean, I know that there's no ruling it out unless they die and they come back as a ghost, but still.
Yeah. I got something going on in the back of my mind. I'm trying to figure out, Gary's in this book a little bit when Packard goes to drop the dog off. And so we catch up with Gary just a little bit. But I've got something in the back of my mind thinking about Gary's days of when he was an escort and a sex worker. And I was like, what if Gary crossed paths with somebody back then who is now very much in the spotlight? And Gary is a loose end that he needs to clean up.
Oh, okay. There you go.
So I don't know. I haven't quite worked it out, but yeah, I'm always thinking about Gary a little bit.
Yeah.
Figuring him in.
Yeah, he's a great character. And of course, the fact that he had rescued Frank, of course, I'm sure endears him to all of your readers. So
there are hardcore Frank fans out there that they're like, okay, Packard's great, but I'm here for Frank.
That's right. And it's funny. I have a friend that has 2 corgis, and I would tell you he would definitely be there for Frank as well. So, and he like Frank. One of his corgis only has 3 legs.
Oh wow! Yeah, it happens.
Now, does Frank doesn't have a contraption? Does he? I mean, he can move on his 3 legs, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess Paul's actually has two legs that don't work. So he actually has a cart.
Oh, really?
behind
Like the
him.
little
Yeah.
wheels that he runs
Yeah.
up? Yeah.
Which I love. I love seeing pictures of his dog because it's like that dog gets a move on it for sure. Just like Frank does. And will there be a book 5?
Yeah. So I just turned in book 5 to my editor at the end of June.
Okay.
And I mean, speaking of Frank, it's funny. I got through like 70% of that book and realized I hadn't mentioned Frank. And it takes place. Packard's a little bit away from home in this book. And then I had to stop and think. I was like, could Packard have brought Frank on this trip with him? And I was like, yeah, he probably would have brought Frank. So then I'd go back to the beginning and the whole book.
Well, it's a good thing you did, Josh, because you might get written off.
I would have got some nasty emails,
right?
For sure.
Where's my Frank at? That's right. Once again, the book is called Beneath a Broken Sky. It's by Josh Moehling. It is highly recommended. And I love, love, love Ben, and I enjoy our chats as well, Josh.
Oh, I do too, Dan. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me again.
Thank you for joining me for this week's episode of Out with Dan. You can find more information about this podcast and its host at outwithdan.com, on Twitter at OutWithDan, and on Instagram and Facebook at GoOutWithDan. This podcast is hosted by Authors on the Air Global Radio Network, and the theme music is provided by bensound.com. Join us again soon for the next episode of Out with Dan.